Right, the Ukraine thing. Now, what is it, 7 days in now? And because the Project X intelligence section works so slowly, we gather information over many years, collate it all to find out whether things are the truth or not. Now this one, we've had to do this in 7 days. So everyone's been working on this to try and work out what is propaganda and what is real, and basically to tell you what we've heard rather than what's on the media. So we've got lots of friends in Russia and lots of friends in Ukraine, be they sending us gear, we sending them gear, just friends. It seems the social media platform Twitch seems to be very good, and people who've got friends in Ukraine and Russia that are on Twitch know them as to be either non-political or whatever, so they've picked sort of 3 or 4 each and are talking to them. And basically the people in Russia are just being told there's an exercise in the Donbass region, as we already know that, and that nobody's dying. The Ukrainians are welcoming them with open arms, and we've heard all that too. I mean, that's not new. And obviously when you go to Ukraine, Ukrainian people, they're bombing civilians. Now they are definitely bombing civilian areas. They've done the damage they could do to the military, and the military have all scattered, taking enough stuff to run a resistance, as we know. So let's see what we've collated. That has all just come in. I've quickly written it down, but this is what's been accumulating over the 7 days. Starting at the top, I have to use my glasses. Information people on the ground in Russia and Ukraine. So people on the ground we're using, not their news agencies. Now, a lot of them are saying, the Russian side, that Putin's been going slowly bonkers. He's sort of withdrawn himself, and he can't get out of his head. I think we probably already know this, that he's bent on getting the Soviet Union back to how it used to be. We've seen this with Crimea, and we're seeing it with the Donbass region and the other region, and we think that it won't stop at Ukraine either. Everyone's saying that. Everyone in the defence industry is saying that, including Russian and Ukrainian people in their defence industries. They've never felt safe, really. So yeah, he's gone mad. He's getting old. He's spent all the Russian people's money on this huge arsenal of pretty much rubbish equipment. You know, it's a sort of what we would use as a prototype for our equipment. You know, roughly put together quickly. You know, cheap materials. And so he spent this money on this big arsenal. And if you're sitting on that kind of money and you're thinking, right, I'm getting to 70 now, it's never going to be used in my lifetime. My nuclear weapons are never going to be used. So if he's thinking along those lines, like some of the others have, like Saddam, he'd spent a fortune in Russia on all this gear, and thought, right, I'm going to start using this. So he invaded Kuwait. Plus the fact he needed more oil and more port space. So, yeah, so before we start, this is not the Russian people's fault. I think that's obvious. This is their government. Now, definitely, for absolute 100%, intelligence-wise this is, people are protesting on the streets in Russia. Nobody agrees with this. The ones who do believe it, when you say, do you realise that there's hundreds of Russian troops gone to Ukraine to invade, they don't believe you. There's, for instance, if you can imagine our Twitch friends, there's 160,000 to 200,000 Russian troops gone. They're all going to know the mothers and fathers of some of those troops. Some of them know 20 or 30. So we asked them, we said, go to these people and find out what they're saying on their telephones, what they're, you know, calling back to you. Most of them don't know where they are. There seems to be a lack of maps and a lack of GPS equipment, coordination. That's on this. That's just, we've just got this in. There's a company who I won't say the name of, who's got satellite imagery, and there's a few others too. Is it Maxstar? But there's another one in Dubai who listens into radio, and the Russians haven't even got encrypted radio. They might have, but certainly the ones that they've heard have not. And they can listen into this from a satellite. So it's not the Russian people's fault. It's only Putin and his government. So now with the war crimes thing, so from Putin down to the commanders on the ground in Ukraine, they are now all war criminals. Just on the one fact of the cluster bombs. That's just the one fact. Cluster bombs weren't even used on troops. They were used on, well, we've seen it on the news, shopping centre. And now these aren't, the shopping centre one could have been set up. So we're calling that an 80% chance of it being right. But the 100% chance was the one on, you saw the camera looking down onto the car park. That is identical. You could not fake that. That's identical. And the people who have died, obviously. You know, if someone's going to set up a picture, they're not going to have people standing there, are they? You know, there wouldn't be that kind of you know, loyalty to give your life for a fake shot. So we're saying, you know, 99, 100% for that one. Now, Putin's gone into hiding with his family. Now this must mean he's had trouble from those around him. And if you've seen the faces on those generals and things on the pictures, you know, we've had people look at those, and they've all, their body language, their facial features, all say they do not agree with what's happening. Although they can't say it, obviously. Although one of them has, he says this is a absolute disaster for the Kremlin. Now we know that. Right, now Putin's told his troops and tell the commanders that obviously they were going on exercise to the Donbass region. And they thought that the locals would be, this is on the news, this. They thought the locals would be open arms, flowers, throwing flowers at the tanks as they went past. Welcome, thank God you're here. That's what they're being told. So they don't really set up a risk, they just drive straight in, thinking, oh, where are all the people to welcome us? They just drive straight in. When they're shot back at, then they find that, you know, they jump off their wagons and hide. So, yeah, going on exercise. Thought the locals would be throwing flowers. Right, we've had probably one confirmation of this. A chap rang his mum to say, don't understand why they're shooting at us. Didn't even know we were going into a town in Ukraine. We thought we were still in the Donbass region. They've put enough fuel in. Just hang on a minute. I heard somebody shouting. Can you hear that? Well, there's no one on the front. Anyway. Yeah, we'll be throwing flowers. Yeah, he's told his mum, he said, I really don't know what's happening. We've run out of fuel, so we didn't put enough fuel in to get this far. They're not expecting to drive as far as they have. And then they don't know where they're going. Now, I think, again, there's some YouTube video of a chap passing some Russian troops with their tanks stopped on the side of the road. And he said, what's happening? He said, oh, we're out of fuel. So, some Russian troops, we've also heard through quite reliable sources, prisoners that have been taken, etc., that they've holed their own fuel tanks to make it look like a bullet, or fired at their fuel tank to make it leak out so they don't have to go any further. But that comes up later anyway. Right, red crosses on buildings. You know, the Ukrainians have got to look for these because these are targets. Been used quite widely, really. So get on the roofs of your buildings and put sand on them or whatever, or try and erase them because they're actually luminous. They could be seen from quite high up. So red crosses on buildings. Saboteurs have put that on. And that doesn't appear to be because some of the buildings that have been hit had a red cross on the roof. So saboteurs have put it up there. Russian troops are running and are leaving their equipment behind. Could be for a number of reasons. The convoy that's coming, that's got stuck in the mud, basically. That's a mud problem. It's vehicles going slow, pretending they've got maintenance issues so they don't have to go any further. And then some of them are disappearing. They know where they're going now and they do not want to go. Basically, they've heard about what's happening. They've been told by locals what's happening, who were told before they got to wherever they are. So yeah, not guilty, Russian people. Definitely. War crimes. Putin, down to his commanders, will have to be taken in. Yeah, here's one we got. Friend of ours, his, or should I say her son, was in the artillery rockets he was on. You know, the ones where, I think the Grads, that you see them streaking up into the sky in big blocks. He told his mum on the phone that he wasn't arming the fuses. So, and that's come through one of our friends who is not political, pro everyone being together, you know, all that usual stuff. So there's nothing there, but so that's 100% true. And as we've seen, the rockets are sticking out of the pavements all over Kiev. When he heard that they were targeting the Kiev and other places, they said don't arm the fuses. And that's why they're sticking out of the pavement, not unexploded. Some of them do, but not all of them. Some of them explode just because of the speed they hit at. And they set the fuse off anyway without it being primed or armed. They leave the pins in. I don't know exactly how they arm the artillery rockets, I don't know, but I suppose you have to do something. Like in the Royal Artillery here, you've got a spanner and you click it in, you click it on, or turn the timer, which is a delay timer. Right, yeah, people being rounded up for protesting. That shouldn't stop. If you're a Russian person, that shouldn't stop you, because the more people they've got to deal with, the less people out grabbing people. So they must go in there and they must all cause as much trouble as they can when they're in the police station. And they can't take everybody. It's impossible. So you've all got to get up, go down to your square or whatever. Safety in numbers. Don't walk around with a plaque on your own. Link arms. And then if somebody comes to grab, 4 of them will come to try and grab one of you, circle them and do them in. And the best thing to do to disarm people completely is strip them naked and run in different directions with their clothes, so that they're standing there naked with nothing. That's the most humiliating. That they can't grab you and take you in when they're naked. Basically, it's freezing. So that's what people are doing. Now, we've heard stories that the Russian commanders were told to destroy the bodies of anyone who died as they went, be they Ukrainian civilians, be they Russian soldiers, whatever. And now we've seen on the news mobile cremation unit. So we're thinking, unless we're at, you know, I know it's only a small thing, but I reckon that's about 80% right. We could say 80% on that one. They're going to burn the bodies. Although they haven't done, they've left them by the vehicles and run. So many vehicles have been destroyed, and we've seen that. That's 100%. Some of them might be Ukrainian army, but generally we're collecting pictures of the ones with Zs on. I don't know whether if a Ukrainian military vehicle gets wiped out, whether somebody quickly gets some white paint and paints a Z. I don't know, but I very much doubt it. I don't think they've got time to hang around and do that. So that's an 80% anyway. Yeah, advice: get up to that convoy and destroy it at the front, so that they can't get down the road. Destroy all the front vehicles, and then if you're still alive, work your way back, one lorry at a time if necessary, because if that lot gets to Kiev, you're pretty well finished. And that appears to be the only threat at the moment, is that convoy. Doesn't seem to be anything else coming anywhere else, unless they put a line of, because they all look like lorries to us. You know, we've got close up with proper surveillance equipment with the stereo vision, whatever, and basically we've can only see lorries, but they'll all be full of ammunition and grenades and mortar bombs and stuff. So they need to be sorted out. Now, if you want to upset the Russians more, and you've got people hanging about, clean the place up. Don't leave damaged buildings. Take lots of pictures, put those on social media, and then clean up. That will upset them no end. Put all the windows back. Don't have to put the glass in, just make it look like there's windows in it. Collect all the damaged vehicles and put them in a compound somewhere so you can count them, and the Russians can see what's been destroyed with their satellites. It's another good thing. Not only that, it'll all be in one place when you go to melt them down at the end of the war. Keep the good ones for yourself, put those back into service. I know there's good ones around because we've seen TikTok videos of girls showing you how to drive one if you find one. You know, I thought that was really funny. She was really good as well about it. Website. Russia's shut down a website naming the dead. Open your own one. Open a website, get every Russian soldier you find that's died, find out who he is. Some of them won't have anything on them because they're trying to be anonymous, or take a picture of his face or something and put it on a website so that they can see how many people are dying, because the Russians have no idea. You know, now they've said 500 people have died, but if they were only going on exercise and only going to invade a population that was going to greet them with flowers, then why has 500 people died? You know, they should get it up here and realise what's happening. Now, your prisoners. It appears 90% doing this. Look after them. Fix them up in the hospital, which I know you're doing, because I've actually got friends there myself, not without Project X or anything, with myself, who are actually doing that. Feed them. Don't get confessions out of them. What you do, you bug wherever you're keeping them and listen to what they've got to say really candidly. You don't sit there saying, you will say this, you will say that, you will say it's bad. That's old school now. That doesn't buy anybody anything. You know, we just don't recognise that anymore at all. We all know what goes on. So yeah, and right now, good old Russia invading inadvertently has got the EU and NATO all talking again. We're all one unit again. And now we're ready in case he tries anything else. You know, he will be severely stopped, basically. So that's most of that. Now what have we got new? How much time we got? 21 minutes. Yeah. Now, Dubai. Associates, not a friend of mine, associates of Project X in Dubai, listening to a company, listening to radio communications. The Russian troops. Don't know where they are because I haven't got a map. Don't have coordinates of where they are. So they can't radio another unit and say, can you bring food and petrol? And even if they did, they haven't got any either. They didn't expect to be in that convoy for that long. Mud. Lots of mud now. If they're not on the road, they're finished. Basically, even the tanks are getting mudded in. Or they're saying, getting themselves mudded in and telling their commanders, sorry, that's buggered, we've got to go. Fuel, no fuel. Abandoning some units, see their friends shot up in the front, turn round, shoot back, dump the vehicle and run. They've been doing that. It appears, now you would think, nice open empty roads straight into Kiev, the convoy should have been there by now, shouldn't it? Well no, because nobody wants to go. They've slowed down the whole thing on purpose. A worrying thing is, what they're sending so far seems to be conscripts in old equipment. They haven't really sent any new stuff. We've seen a few of the latest helicopters. We haven't seen the latest jets. We haven't seen the latest. Some of the artillery rockets are bigger, so they appear to be bigger than 120, which is the old stuff. Yeah, conscripts gone. Didn't know they were going, so didn't prepare. Said, oh, we're going on an exercise. I'll just take a toothbrush and a couple of Mars bars or whatever, you know. didn't know where they were going. No coded communications. They're just listening to radio chatter like it's being sent over the broadcast to you on the TV. Now the other problem they've got, we've heard a convoy is 5.5 kilometres, between 5.5 kilometres and 60 kilometres long. Now what's happened is Russian commanders have lost some of the front of the convoy with the drones. And that's then, because they're all parked in the same place, that's then set fire to 8 or 9 other lorries. And probably even gone further. So they've been dumped on the side of the road. And what they've done, they've told everybody to not pile up into 3 lines, all bumper to bumper, but stretch out. So now, that 5.5 kilometre length of vehicles has now gone to 15-20 kilometres of lorries spaced out with 100 yards between them. If one explodes now, it doesn't damage the next one. I mean, that was quite, you know, obvious from the start. So, yeah, everyone's saying Putin's, even in, well, pretty much everywhere as we know, Putin shot himself in the foot. Somebody said he'd painted himself into a corner. Now, he's going to want to fight his way out, which basically means more civilian deaths and more indiscriminate bombing, I'm reckoning. Yeah, mud and the convoy. We got another confirmation here that there's a lot of mud. If they go off of the main high road, they're pretty much finished. It's that muddy. And note to the Ukrainian people, like I said, clean up and build the buildings that they damage back better. You know, I was always saying about 9/11, the Twin Towers. They built one tower back. What they should have done is built 3 60 feet taller next to each other. You know, always build back better. Otherwise, people think that you know, they think they've done a good job. If they suddenly 10 years later see 3 huge towers, they think, well, that didn't. You know, what's the point? What was the point in damaging the tower? So yeah, always build back better. If they damage a bridge, build a lovely new bridge. Get everyone involved. They can look at that bridge and say, yeah, after the war I built that. You know, even in my lifetime I was looking at stuff in London that was still bombed. But you know, we appear to have built back better after the place was devastated. Germany after the war, most of it was smashed. You know, you look at the pictures, it was just people walking in rubble. Look at them now. Strongest country in Europe again. So, you know, always build back better. So yeah, I think that's about it. That's all we can give you at the moment. You know, it's not all 100%. We've got piles of pictures and things to look at and evidence coming in from all angles. So we'll see. But yeah, I think Putin's sitting there getting older and older, thinking, stewing because of the Ukraine situation that he's created in his mind, you know, and told the Russian people that there's a problem there when really there isn't. It's you know, well, I don't know. That's another thing I'll have to look into one day, the 8-year history of the war, or 7-year history. So yeah, right, thank you very much, and we'll try and do a number 2 as soon as we get any more information. Thanks a lot.